Das ist erstmal Basketball.
I was bullshitting last night tweeting about Transformers, and someone remarked how Optimus in that movie was 2018 LeBron. And while I was going to make this video anyways, now I especially want to make it. Because like 2011 Optimus Prime, 2018 Braun was something special, and I've never gotten to do a retrospective about it. Might have covered it in LeBron's case for GOAT right after it happened, but it's been 4 years. And when you look back at that run, although it didn't end with the ring, boy was it something special. Let's start with the fact that this team was a dumpster fire through and through, from start to finish. The 2017 finals happened, they were predictably beaten by the Warriors with Kevin Durant, and they needed to shake things up. Only, if you remember, the problem being, there really was no way to shake that roster up as it was. I.e., with Kyrie and LeBron, they were probably never going to get enough support on that team to compete with Golden State. Add in the problem that Kyrie ended up wanting to.
Und nur mal ganz kurz was, wie viel Support willst du da in ein Team bringen, wenn du in einem Team Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green und Kevin Durant hast und noch Andre Iguodala von der Bank meistens.
Be traded, and there was the start. After that deal and offseason, the Cavaliers came out a mashup of names that you would recognize, but not names that would contribute for a full season. We're simply not going to acknowledge that Derrick Rose or Dwayne Wade were ever in a Cavs jersey.
Derrick Rose,
and everything else, when you saw it as a total
war eine wilde Zeit ohne Spaß bei den Cavaliers, war eine wilde Zeit. Was ist das für eine Videoqualität?
Picture, you were just going, if this roster happened 5 years earlier, it'd be the greatest team of all time. In 2018, however, it was always a gamble. If they were on the floor together, maybe they could do something, but health was probably going to get in the way, and it almost immediately did. That roster was terrible. There was a news story every day about the dysfunction, and finally on one unsuspecting day our phone started buzzing, and they kept buzzing, and they continued buzzing. It was not Woj and Shams breaking a scandal about a coach, about 4 years too early for that. Instead, they were telling us the entire Cavs roster had been traded. Not a couple of people, damn near everyone. They sent Dwayne Wade back to Miami, D Rose to the Jazz, which he never got to play there. Just guys all over the place for a roster that, when you looked at it from top to bottom, was pretty sorry, but it at least fit better than what they had. And LeBron agreed after they defeated the Boston Celtics for their first game. He famously or infamously remarked, "We got a squad now." Comparatively, he wasn't wrong. The only problem was this quote-unquote squad was not going to be able to compete in this Eastern Conference for long, as if you were to go back and look, it had the makings of pretty much all the teams that contend there today, the very early versions. So one way or the other, this was probably the last time a fully LeBron-led roster was going to be able to get through the East, and even before the playoff run, you could see if it did happen, it was barely going to happen. As a matter of fact, with the way the Toronto Raptors looked that year, it's fun to laugh at them in hindsight, but they were very good. LeBron's team was not very good. This was probably the first time in around 6 or 7 years that LeBron was flat out expected to lose before the NBA Finals. There were some years where it was questionable. It had probably been around a decade since it looked like it was just a mountain too high to scale. But those problems started even earlier than we expected. Even with the state of the roster, this first round against Oladipo's Pacers seemed to be a tune-up. It was a known fact at that time that LeBron James doesn't lose in the first round, and it wasn't supposed to start now, except it almost did. After 4 grueling games, this series was knotted up at 2 apiece, leading us to LeBron's first epic moment of this playoffs.
Triggers in. James, 2 seconds, 1 second for the win. Oh! LeBron James delivers. That's a winner in Cleveland.
As we all know, the winner of Game 5 normally goes on to win the series, and Indiana was very capable of winning that Game 5, just as they were capable of winning the series. This one went all the way down to a Game 7 that took LeBron James 45 points to get by. When the smoke cleared, the Cavaliers had won by a mere 4 points, which meant 5 of these 7 games were decided by 4 or less. It was a much better series than any of us remember. A series that saw LeBron score 46 points in Game 2, 44 in Game 5 with that game winner, and 45 in Game 7. Not only had this series been way too close for comfort, but LeBron's next highest scoring teammate was Kevin Love at 11 points with 33% from the field. Yeah, it was brutal. An epic series, but it was against the Indiana Pacers. So right then and there, if you didn't already know this Cavaliers team was not winning a championship, that was proof. And it should have been proof they were not getting out of the Eastern Conference. As a matter of fact, their second round series was a bout with the Toronto Raptors, who had won nearly 60 games. This was arguably the best team of the DeRozan and Lowry era, and in theory, they were finally ready. In theory. I myself did not believe that for 1 second. I thought that the Raptors should have won that series, but I picked the Cavaliers in 7. I just did not think they were going to get over the LeBron hump. Not only did they fail to clear this hump, they got swept. LeBron put up averages of 34, 8, and 11 with 2 steals, very similar to his Indiana Pacers stat line, by the way. While he also touted 55% from the field, which included a bevy of fadeaways that officially dubbed this era LeBronzo. Oh yeah, and as if the series hadn't already been over once the Cavaliers won both of Toronto's home games, because they had home court, by the way, just in case the Raptors were going to spin the block and do the same to them in Cleveland, LeBron closed that door too.
3 seconds to go. Throws up the floater. Oh,
Das war auch ein wilder Game Winner.
Knights! Cleveland! That is for you!
Official LeBron.
This series was flat out humiliating. Also fair to mention, his team stepped up far more here. Kevin Love averaged 20 and 11, pretty reminiscent of his Minnesota days actually. Kyle Korver even averaged 15 points. Really, the team lit up Toronto, but LeBron of course had the legendary moments. After game 1 when Toronto had lost their lead, we kind of knew this one was cooked. And with the Philadelphia 76ers having been prematurely eliminated, it was anybody's guess what was going to happen. This Boston Celtics team they were up against next did not have Kyrie Irving or Gordon Hayward, yet according to Marcus Morris, they were going to be able to get the job done. As he remarked, the other teams LeBron had played against thus far didn't know how to play defense. Pretty bold words when you knew you were going up against this guy next, but that squad had all the confidence in the world. Let the record show nobody thought the Celtics would be 4 wins away from the NBA Finals at that point without their
Bruder, ohne Spaß, Alter, aber die Celtics haben heute noch dieses Selbstbewusstsein und mittlerweile können sich das auch echt leisten.
2-star players. Yet here they were in a very winnable series. As a matter of fact, the Boston Celtics would take a 2-0 lead, which was the first time LeBron James would face that deficit in the Eastern Conference since he did it against the Celtics in 2008. That just spoke to how long he had dominated the East, but also to the fact that this really was the year he presumably wasn't going to make it. With this roster, he shouldn't have. With everything that had happened that season, he shouldn't have. These first 2 games were blowouts. If the Celtics could now just do it one more time in Cleveland, it was probably a wrap. However, we all knew LeBron wasn't going away quietly, as even in game 2 that was a blowout, he had 42 points. Cleveland
Der hat auch danach nie wieder NBA-Minuten gesehen.
will not up the series, as in game 4, LeBron would
Young
post
Jason
44,
Tatum.
and in the do-or-die game 6, he would post 46, leading to a game 7 in Boston, by the way. It was truly set up for something legendary. It was a great back and forth game. Everything was in place for Boston to advance, as Jason Tatum even got one in on LeBron and made the mistake of chest bumping him afterwards. Safe to say he got caught up in the moment. A couple of minutes later, LeBron was burying this team and proclaiming victory on their home field. He finished with series averages of 33 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, while shooting 52% from the field and 40% from 3. Once again, his next best scoring teammate, Kevin Love, at 12.5 points a game. Also, he was not available in game 7. There's just almost no conceivable way the Celtics should have lost that game. The Cavaliers starting lineup there was LeBron, J.R. Smith, Jeff Green, George Hill, and Tristan Thompson. Jeff Green was his second best player in 2018 in that game. As Jeff Van Gundy was sure to remark, he had never seen anybody do more with less, which was quite unfortunate for the viewers because he was now going to have to take that feat against quite possibly the best team of all time. Most of us were hoping the Rockets made the finals just because at least there would be some conceivable chance for there to be a competitive finals regardless of whether the Cavaliers or Celtics made it. And even then, a healthy Rockets team would have destroyed either one of them, more than likely. Either way, this was supposed to be a very quick and painless sweep, yet at least for one game, LeBron would give us one of the greatest finals performances of all time.
Also ohne Spaß, das Game habe ich auch live gesehen. Ich habe richtig geschwitzt.
Here he was yet again
Ich habe von vornherein gedacht, das wird ein Sweep für Golden State.
Doing the impossible, going shot for shot with the Kevin Durant Golden State Warriors. Nobody believed he could duplicate this 4 times and win a series, but to even have gotten a game off of this squad would have been a feat. He gave them absolutely everything he had just for it to be ruined at the final seconds.
Still misses. Rebound goes to the Cavs. J.R. Smith
Ja, gut, ne?
brings it back out. Throws it ahead. Still shot blocked. And we'll go to
Einfach Hennessy und Weed, zu viel in J.R. Smiths Adern. Ah.
overtime. You get the feeling J.R. Smith thought they had the lead.
So
You don't
wild.
know the score. I think
So
exactly. That's a bad mistake
Wie kannst du in dem Feinde sagen, du weißt den Score nicht? Später hat er es nochmal revidiert, hat er sich verbessert, aber zu dem Zeitpunkt war das unglaublich.
by J.R. Smith.
When the smoke cleared from that, LeBron had finished with 51 points, 8 assists, 8 rebounds, and shot 59% from the field. That unfortunately would be his last Herculean effort of this postseason run. There was simply no more to be done against this Warriors team. If they were going to get a game, it would have been that one, and they still wouldn't have won the series. That did not stop this from being one of the single greatest playoff runs of all time. With the Cavaliers roster being as weak as it had been in years, plus the Eastern Conference very much about to change the balance of power, LeBron would leave and start a new journey in the West. But there is no doubt that getting that Cavaliers team to the NBA Finals has got to be one of the better accomplishments of his career. If you want to say the Pacers were a weak team and the Boston Celtics were injured, there is still the case of the Toronto Raptors that very much should have at least won 2 or 3 games. Getting swept, legendary moments, video game-like stat lines, 2018 LeBron will likely not be duplicated, the same way 2011 Optimus hasn't.
Morgen Rematch. Morgen Rematch. Ich hoffe, die Jungs sind da. Ne, da bin ich mir noch nicht ganz sicher. Aber von meiner Seite aus ist das safe. Also ohne Spaß war, glaube ich, es war nicht einer seiner besten Playoffs-Runs, ne, aber war ein sehr, sehr wilder Playoff-Run mit dem Team vor allem. Ne. Es war halt einfach, hat an jeder Ecke hat's da gefehlt. Ein riesen Draft-Debakel noch kurz davor gewesen, aber trotz alledem so weit geschafft. Ne. Da immer noch riesen Respekt, auch wenn ich LeBron nicht mag.